Jamaica, can you advance the slide, please? I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Michael DeJesus.
Thank you, Lisa, and welcome everybody. It is so great and fantastic to see everyone on this virtual convening this morning. We are excited to have you. It feels like it's been quite a bit since we've all been in person. Can't wait to be in a room, in the flesh, in person with everyone again. But in the interim, it's great to see all the faces on here online today. I hope that you're having great weather as we are here in Georgia. And if not, we'll send you a little bit of sunshine. So sprinkles and sunshines coming your way. Lisa, thank you for setting this up. Definitely want to give a big shout out to the team here. They've been working extremely hard to put together this presentation, and thank you to our partners with Acadeum to also working with us on this endeavor. And we are so appreciative of this partnership to be able to have this consortium and work and contribute to student success for all of our students all across our region. So thank you all. It's an exciting time. There's some new faces I see on the chat here. So welcome to all those who are new. And speaking of new, we have someone brand new joining us at SREB. And so we are super excited. As of, I think it's going on 4 months now, we have our new vice president for post-secondary education, Dr. Harriet Scott. We are super excited to have her on board. She is full of energy and ideas. And I'm just going to turn it over to Dr. Scott to say a little bit about herself and introduce herself to the group. Dr. Scott.
I talk with the team. I am Harriet Scott, and I am a huge proponent of HBCUs as well as community colleges. I call myself a devotee to community colleges. And so in case you're wondering about my HBCU background, I got to throw that Morgan State Bears in there, and then my behold the green and gold. So if you know that, you know, I have a degree from there. And then finally, just recently stopped working at Union. So if you know anything about Virginia Union, coming from there, I am happy to be a part of SREB, happy to be a part of the post-secondary team, and happy to be with you today. I know that there's a full 2 hours planned, so I just want to encourage you. I want to see your faces. So we hope that you'll stay on screen. And if you can't be on screen, you just let us know you're having some technical difficulties, as we respect these folks who have put together a solid program for you. Also, please take care of yourself. I say mental health is the #1 crisis or issue in higher ed today. So if you want to have to stretch, get some water, take your bio breaks, do your woosah moments, because I understand we're running this straight through with no breaks. So please take care of yourselves. And finally, if there are any Divine Nine members in the house, I'm just going to say 1922 and leave it right there. Let's get ready. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. So we're ready to kick this off. I'm going to pass the mic back to Elisa. So Elisa, kick us off. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike and Harriet. We appreciate your energy this morning. Before I go over the agenda really quickly, I want to put out there that we want to hold our questions until the end of the presentations. We have Ms. Jamaica. Not only is she advancing the slide, but she's also monitoring the chat. So we are keeping track of your questions. We will get to them after the presentation. So thank you very much for that. So now the agenda. We're going to go over SREB services and capabilities. Then we're going to go into a student success open forum. So that's an open question forum that's going to be led by Melissa Juarez, our research analyst. She will introduce herself and tell you more about herself when we get to that point. And then a special treat, the HBCU-MSI Consortium Strategic Planning Model. I understand some of you have had an opportunity to work with Ed Spears at Acadeum, but he's going to show everyone else now the way that we're going to help you guys advance and plan for the next stage of the consortium. At that point, we're going to open it up to questions for SREB, questions for Acadeum, or just questions in general. So that's going to be next steps, questions, and then we'll go into the closings. And that's going to wrap up our 2-hour session, 45 minutes for SREB, 45 minutes for Acadeum, and then 30 minutes at the end for your questions, your comments, and your feedback. All right, next slide, please. All right, so SREB services and capabilities. We are so excited to share with you all the wonderful things that collaborating with SREB can grant you access to, can afford you. Jamika, if you can go to the next slide, please. So the SREB value proposition, collaborating and partnering with SREB can provide your institutions access to many post-secondary programs, services, and tools that help you promote student success on your campuses. For instance, SREB is an anchor. We're a connector, and we serve as a liaison to facilitate crucial conversations between and among member institutions and state systems or entities, member institutions and policymakers, also member institutions and new initiatives and opportunities. SREB's convenings provide institutions access to alternative venues for collaboration, such as workshops and annual meetings, much like this webinar that we're doing right now. Next slide, please, Jamika. Value proposition. Again, SREB can provide member institutions access to programs, services, and initiatives at the regional level. You know, SREB is a nonpartisan regional education compact. So we stretch across the Southeast all the way almost up into the north to Delaware. So anything going on in our region that we can link you to, one of the things we want to do is help you do that. So post-secondary access student success programming, Student Success Summit that we do every year, and the HBCU-MSI Collaborative, of which most of you are already members, or at least someone in your leadership team are members. Education technology, open educational resources, post-secondary institution data metrics for benchmarking. Compare yourself with institutions of your same size, in your same sector, within your region. We can help you do all of that. And then, of course, professional best practices that provide ongoing ideation and innovation. Next slide, please. So how do we work? SREB has three main focuses in the way we work. This is our how we work wheel. We analyze and publish, we convene and engage, we support action, and it's not in any particular order. It just, it depends on where the project that we're working on starts on this wheel, but we want to make sure that we do all three. For analyzing and publishing, for instance, for the HBCU-MSI Consortium, Jamila and I have co-written a white paper on the implementation, the ideation, the demonstrated success, the sustainability over the first 18 months of the successes and the barriers of launching this consortium. Convening and engaging. Again, we bring you together periodically, either in person or in these virtual venues, to innovate together, ideate together, share ideas, share best practices. And then, of course, taking action or supporting action. We support states, institutions, and schools as we work to implement, test, and scale innovative strategies. So work with us as we work through our wheel. And know that SREB is here to provide you the benefit of this expertise. Next slide, please. All right, so with that said, I want to introduce to you collaborative one-on-one work sessions with SREB. They're designed to provide you guys with consultative solutions to support your student success initiatives, not just the HBCU-MSI Consortium, but through SREB's other programs, services, capabilities, and tools. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Melissa. Melissa, take it away. Next slide.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Elisa. My name is Melissa Juarez, and I am a research analyst working with Mike and the POSA office. Some of you may have seen me last year during the summer workshop. That was my third day, but now I'm here 8-9 months later, and I'm so excited to be here. So a little bit more about, I'm a research person, so what does that mean? How can I help you? So SREB, apart from their specific niche initiatives, we have an overarching research and data capability, and some of them come in the form of data summation tools. So SREB can help you explore your institutional and program data. We can help you create dashboards or customize reports tailored to your research questions or any investigative questions that you have that might help you promote student success at your schools. So these tools can feature a wide array of components. So they could be anything from written findings in the reports to interactive charts or geospatial analysis tools. And in the next slide, Jamika, we can see kind of just like screen captures of examples of what this has looked like in the past for us. So we have some dashboards, custom reporting, custom charts that are web friendly, and geospatial analysis or mapping tools that can help you visualize where your students are coming from or anything aggregated at the geographic level. And as an example, we recently, like a couple days ago, actually our office had a report come out where we did this analysis on one of our own programs, the Academic Common Market, and we were able to use research and data and these data summation tools to get a better understanding of who our students were, and use those insights to think about how we could increase awareness to specific populations that historically have not been represented in our program. So this is just an example of what we do within SREB, but also the knowledge and tools that we can use to help you better understand your students. So thank you. So that being said, now we will be going into our student success open forum. And the goal for this is to have discussion between all of us, for all of us to participate and share our insights and experiences. So we are going to be using menti.com to capture our responses and to kind of go through the questions. So you can either, if you have a mobile phone at your disposal, you can scan this QR code. You can also go to menti.com and type in that 8-digit code. You can also go to the link that I'm about to paste in the chat, whichever one is easier for you. So let's take a couple seconds to load menti.com so we can start our questions. And then if I could get a thumbs up if you're ready or if you need more time. So I'm going to share my screen so we can look at all of the answers collectively. Okay, so our first question, and then also feel free to speak out. What student success practices have been most beneficial to your students? So let's take a minute or so to think about it, internalize it, and leave our short responses here. And then let's look through what everyone else has to say. Wow, so a lot of these have to do with different communication plans for your students. Yeah. So no sense, high touch advising. So high touch advising. Awesome. So a lot of you guys have best practices having to do with communication plans. If this resonates with anyone, or if anyone wants to share out, could anyone kind of explain more, go a little bit more in depth into how this is implemented with your students? Is Jamila still
Yeah,
here? Jamila, can I tag team you? Because I know that you're a huge proponent of these communication plans.
I'm still writing all of these out for you. I think you submit multiple response. Yes, so several of mine are up here. Yeah, I'm happy to speak on the work we've done around streamlining, just recognizing that information overload is a real thing for students, and being fully dependent on email as the channel to reach students, we found that to be ineffective. And so we've integrated, for example, text platforms like Mongoose, and thinking about, chats and other ways that we can engage students. So it's not one or the other, it's really kind of both and looking at a comprehensive 360 plan. So when we talk about streamlining communication, making sure we segment out campaigns that are appropriate for seniors, for example, or those that may be appropriate for, freshmen as they approach 30 hours. What does that mean? So being very intentional and thoughtful about what we want to say to who and when. And that really required us to build out a calendar. So looking at our academic calendar as a kind of foundational tool, how can we plan text campaigns around important deadlines to raise awareness about campus process and system, right? And so, it has been tremendous for us, but I realize the key word here is streamlining. Not all students need to know everything at the same time. And if information is not relevant to a particular student population, let's filter them out so we can be more targeted. And we found that the response rate, students started, responding back like immediately with questions, because it's like, oh, this is resonating with me. So I think the streamline piece is so easy to do, a kind of all students email, but if you really look at the return on that in terms of engagement, it was so low for us. Now there are some things that will be kind of all student, for example, FAFSA awareness. Even though we've had these delays, for example, we use FAFSA as, a conversation piece for our students, keeping them aware, keeping them in the loop. So in that case, it is an all student communication. But in other cases where we might be talking about eligibility in athletes, that kind of stuff we've been segmenting, and around degree progress, being very thoughtful there. So I'll just kind of pause there, but a lot of these strategies really connect to the work that we've done on campus. And I, applaud my colleagues for being student-centric in their approach as well. And not afraid to change, not afraid to, shake things up a bit, because I think the innovation is a huge part of why we've seen some success as well.
Thank you so much. Would any other institution care to share about their experiences and what they're doing on their campus?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat. This has been a great conversation. Maybe we could move on to the second question.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. Thank you all for your responses. Okay, the second question, what are some barriers to student success that your institution still faces? And given what we've talked about earlier today, how do you see SREB helping? Yes. Alrighty, thank you all so much. As they're coming in, so finances, student readiness, data, scholarships, strong tutoring support for students, finances, again, financial and motivation. We're not very student-centered, so our retention numbers are horrible. We are changing that culture. Good. Access to laptops and tech. Yeah. navigating admissions processes, accommodations for students, for student parents. Yes, that's a good one, because yeah, I think non-traditional students are largely, it's easy to think that, there's like so many types of non-traditional students that, you don't really need to target any of them, or focus on like the majority of traditional students. But yeah, student parents is, yes. Academic engagement for post-COVID students. Yeah, yes. Can anyone, I'm interested in hearing more about what academic engagement looks like now, given personally, I was actually in college while the pandemic happened, but I'm curious to hear more about what this engagement looks like now that we're like back from the pandemic. But like, so would anybody care to share?
Yeah, so I'll share to share. It's mostly dealing with students getting back active, engaging, and not only academic engagement, not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom, study groups, going to the library, academic activities. Now, during that 2-year window, students got familiar with going to class and going back to the room or doing class online. But college, it's that outside of the classroom does affect how students perform inside the classroom. Things like applying for internships has gone down post pandemic. So there are a lot of factors that social engagement for inside and outside of the classroom have gone down. So we have to create ways to get students involved that pique their interest, and to get them to show up to these in-person or social things outside of just doing it on their phone and sending it on social media.
Yes, I love TikTok. Love her.
So I think, so this is Derek at Texas Southern. I think one of our challenges is they'll always show up to the homecoming games and, hump day, that's a tradition here at Texas Southern. They'll show up to those events or activities. Our challenge is to get them to engage in that academic, as the gentleman previously talked about, and focusing and working on, the academic side and showing up to class, type of thing. I think in many ways, COVID has allowed a lot of students and a lot of colleges and universities to say, well, those are COVID kids, and let that explain things away. And so the first part of COVID, we actually had higher success rates because those students were focused. And now we seem to be drifting back off of that now that we're kind of returning to what the new normal is. But I see students now drifting back into their old habits that they picked up in high school, for those traditional age students that they picked up in high school, where they didn't have to do a whole lot because they were COVID kids. And now we're raising the expectation, raising the bar. And they're like, well, we didn't have to do that before. And I'm like, well, so trying to find that balance of re-engaging them academically, I think, is our challenge.
Thank you so much for sharing. I wonder if anyone has had the opportunity to either have like focus groups with students, or just like in passing been able to speak to students about what like their perspective.
Good morning. I'm Tanya Smith-Bryce from St. Martin's University, where I'm the provost. We actually have done that and have found that our issue largely is around all of the things that have just been said, but we also have a component around our faculty not really being as flexible or willing to shift in the way in which they engage students. And so we're hearing a great deal from our students about gatekeeping courses. We have an increased number of gatekeeping courses since 2020. And so my focus has really been on helping our faculty to understand that they have to do things differently. And so working to provide faculty development opportunities for them so that we can really be able to reach our students efficiently.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you everyone for sharing their responses. Okay.
Can I give a couple of the comments in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, so Jamila shared, I find that framing engagement around workforce career interests has been truly helpful. Jeanine Roberts of Tuskegee says the current catchphrase is to meet them where they are. And then Jamila Lynn seconded Dr. Derek Mann's comment, prioritizing the academic community. Great point.
Awesome. Thank you, Elisa.
No problem.
Okay. What resources or support would be most helpful for your institution to overcome these challenges? And how can SREB help? So tutoring, OER, I see Allison, our colleague from SREB in the call, and she does the OER program here at SREB. So hi, Allison. Professional development for faculty flexibility, instructional design support, QM support, faculty development resources, online teaching development. I see that a lot of these have to do with or are related to faculty development, faculty supports, teaching supports, dashboards/data showing where learners have the most challenge in a course, then analyze and revise to address that aspect of the course. Very specific and very helpful. Thank you. Classroom management support. Elisa?
Michael, Dr. De Jesus is asking, are there specific types of faculty development of interest? Come on, don't all answer at once, y'all. Jamila?
Yeah, thanks for calling me. So to Dr. De Jesus, I think the instructional design support seems to be a theme here. How to reimagine courses with greater student engagement in the virtual space. And then I think another follow question that we're all struggling with is how to take elements of the HBCU experience and infuse that into virtual, right, classrooms. What does that look like? Is it possible at all? I know there are a couple of attempts out there, initiatives, programs that are trying to make this a reality, but I think a huge part of this, talking about improving teaching and learning, is also to think about it in the context of a historically Black college, for me, at least, and many of my colleagues on the line. So I'm just wondering if there are any thoughts about that particular context. Instructional design support, classroom management support, that looks like it really is a thread that runs kind of all the way through.
Dr. Tanya Smith-Bryce shared in the comments, our faculty need innovative pedagogical and andragogical strategies, instructional design support. Dr. Bryce, would you like to expound on that, or you just wanted to pose that?
Sorry, dealing with technology over here on my own, sorry. Yeah, just kind of, I think, speaking to what I'd spoken to earlier, I think part of it is that we have not necessarily caught up or stayed in pace with how to really work with a new generation of students. A lot of that has to do with finances. You know, when you start getting lean, we start cutting support staff and the whole works. And we have found ourselves in a place where we have cut way too much. And so we really need to be able to beef up how we prepare our faculty to and empower them to be a bit more innovative with the curriculum and with their delivery. So any strategies would be very helpful to us.
Thank you. While anyone thinks of a response to that, if you have one, Dr. De Jesus asks, are faculty using AI in the classroom? Is there interest in PD professional development around utilizing and incorporating new AI tools in the classroom? And then Dr. Mann says, we have some faculty using AI, but SREB could provide some leadership responsible use of AI. Great that you said that, because we do have an AI commission that has started recently. It's one of our 5 priorities, and I was so excited about this conversation and the mentee conversation that I completely skipped over a section that I was supposed to share. So once we get towards the end of this, I'll revisit that just really briefly before we bring Ed on. All right, Melissa, I have no more comments here in the chat.
Okay, awesome. So now these last 2 questions are more yes, no, and fast vibes. So this question is, do you know whether your institution participates in any of SREB's other programs or services beside the HBCU Consortium? So it looks like a lot of people are not sure, but you know, we definitely would love to, you know, like share more about them and see where our work can, you know, cross-pollinate each other, I guess. Okay, so I'll go to the next question now. So if you haven't answered this one, go ahead and do so before I move on to the next one. Okay, and then lastly, these are scales from 0 to 10. How familiar are you with any of the following SREB programs or initiatives? And this is just so we can get a sense of, where we need to increase awareness of a program or let you all know, in case you guys are interested or want to learn more. It's cool that it does it live, right? It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I just dropped the link to SREB Post-Secondary Ed. If you want to, at your leisure, take a look at all of the great post-secondary programs that Dr. Scott manages or helps us manage. And then SREB also does K-12. So we actually do K through workforce, in case you did not know. So for those who have an interest in dual enrollment, that nice transition between K-12 and post-secondary, SREB can possibly help with that as well.
So thank you all for answering. I do see that there is, from everyone's responses, that there's an opportunity to learn more about ed tech, technology and education, open educational resources. And I don't want to put Allison on the spot but if you would just want to introduce yourself and let everyone know what you're working on, and hopefully maybe people can connect with you.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. As Melissa said, my name is Allison, and I am the program specialist at SREB. Currently, we are in the process of working on expanding our OER awareness, and also we're looking for members to contribute to our education technology cooperative. And so if you would like to learn more, or if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and contact me at allisonbuckley@sreb.org, and I can put that in the chat so that you'll have it.
Thank you so much, Allison. Harriet, would you like to go over SREB's 5 priorities, or would you like me to do it just really quickly in these last 5 minutes?
I can do it really, really quickly. The SREB Southern Regional Education Board's 5 strategic priorities for the 23-24, probably rolling over in the 25 year are AI in education, so artificial intelligence in education, post-secondary student success, teacher workforce, longitudinal literacy, which means the literacy from birth to death. So we know we focus on 3rd grade reading, and yet we have middle schoolers, high schoolers, college students who are not functionally literate. This also encompasses data literacy. Also career pathways, and why do I feel like I'm blanking on one? Sure. Artificial intelligence, post-secondary student success, teacher workforce, longitudinal literacy, and credentials, pathways and credentials.
Thank you so much. So those are the 5 priorities of SREB, and you just saw the list of some of the other post-secondary programs and services that SREB offers. So if you are interested in any of those, to include post-secondary professional development, post-secondary data, the doctoral scholars program, so that's a great one. It focuses on getting more people of color into, R1 faculty positions. So it supports doctoral students of color through their studies. Now that is state or institution dependent, but again, if you have an interest in any of these programs, these services, these tools that Melissa, Dr. Scott, Dr. De Jesus, and I just shared with you, and Allison just shared with you, please just let us know. That's what these one-on-one collaborative work sessions are designed to advise you guys through as you collaborate more with SREB. All righty, let me check the chat here. We've got 2 more minutes until SREB's time is up as we prepare for Ed Spears, the wonderful Ed Spears from Acadeum, our technology partners, in his section. Does anyone have any questions? And Allison did provide her information in the chat for you. I'm monitoring the chat. Let me know what your questions are. All righty, I see no hands up. I see no comments. Ed, you cool starting the 2 minutes earlier, or?
I think we could fill that space in. I'm super excited, enjoyed everything that's been shared so far, and love to see so many familiar names in the family chat down there. Now, Dr. Pamela, I need a smile though. I need a thank you. All right, thank you. All right. So glad to see everybody. So many people I get to see on a regular basis. Thank you, SREB, for the opportunity to really bring the strategic level of what we're talking about. So I've had small conversations with various ones of you. For those that may not have met me yet, I'm Ed Spears. I am Associate Vice President of Partner Success. So yes, I had a little promotion since the last time we've met. So just grateful for the good work that you guys are allowing me to be a part of. But we are at this really good pivotal place. And so the really big thing that we're focusing on, you all have done an amazing job of using course sharing in a very as needed basis, looking at identifying those catch-all situations, those, oh my gosh, Dr. Pamela, I'm crying in your office because I need to get this right now. And if you don't help me, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So we've done really good on those things. And Dr. Peters, which I think I can say now is Dr. Peters. We're there yet, Dr. Peters? Yeah. Almost. Okay. I'm more excited for you, and I'm not even getting it, but I'm excited. But we've done a really good job of triaging student needs as they come in, and as students with students that have fluid needs, we're always trying to get things moving as they are happening, because they happen far faster than anybody can imagine. But what we're at now, after 18 months, almost 2 years in, we've had a good chance to kind of get some feedback, see where there's some gap analysis is, see where there's some opportunities at. And so what we're looking for this year and forward is, how do we really strategically, progressively, preemptively build structure around your course sharing projects? And so again, really notice I didn't say around your Acadeum work. I said around your course sharing projects, because what this really should be, it's not about Acadeum. It's really more about how do we undergird what you do where course sharing might help. So we've developed a tool for this year. And so some of you may have seen it. If you haven't, we definitely need to get together so you can. But based on the last 2 years and some of the work that we've been able to do, we have developed what I've called our maximization checklist, which is going to hopefully guide us into this next level of really strategic usage that will be sustainable for your long-term use. So Jamika, if you'll take us to the next one. And this is just a screenshot of what you will get. So this is a document that we will be working through. I will send this to you. As a matter of fact, hopefully, since you all are members of the consortium or soon to be members of the consortium, you should already be in the SREB HBCU-MSI community space. So I'm going to actually post this in the community space and then send you a link to it. So if for some reason you're not able to get in, well, your family, so we'll let you in. So I just need to know so we can make sure you have access. And so this checklist is actually several phases of engagement and levels of engagement to really get to maturity. And so we're going to spend some time really on level 1 today, but you're going to get the entire worksheet, how to work through that. And then I am here to help you facilitate this conversation to make sure you're getting the most out of it, because it doesn't make any sense to have an amazing vehicle. I'm gonna tell on myself, and at least I'm watching my time. I'm a preacher now, so you're gonna have to throw something up after a while, because I will get happy. Yeah, oh, don't throw gang signs now. We not trying to. All right now, but
I said 3 clothings.
Oh, I'm about to say, I know we was going West Side, what we was doing,
No, 3.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. So
This is recorded. This is recorded.
That's okay. We real. This real. If we can't be real, we can't be nothing else. So, but it's okay, Melissa. It's all good. So here's the thing. I'll tell a story to kind of give you an idea of where I'm going, and then we're going to jump in, because all preachers have a good story. My wife and my son, you guys know my son is an actor, and my wife and my son blessed me a couple years ago with an XT5. And so love it. Beautiful car. Didn't want it at the time. Didn't know I needed it. Love it. Amazing car. Here's the thing. I've had that car for over probably about 1.5 years now, and I still don't know how all the buttons work. I have still not, I know, Dr. Harry, you're like, really? For real. I still don't know how all the buttons work. I still haven't used automatic parking assist yet. All these things that are bells and whistles, I have not used yet, because I never really took the time to strategically go through the car and figure out how it all works. So I've got access to all this amazing stuff, but I know how to get from point A to B. I know how to make the air conditioner work, because hey, Texas heat is real. I know how to put gas in it, but I haven't gotten the fullness of what I have. And so we really want to focus this year on getting the fullness of what you have. So this maximization process is really going to be about how do you get it all working? How do you get that seat aligned just right, that lumbar support perfect? How do you know how to change the color of the lights? All those things so that it is bespoke and beholden to your use case. So, all right, Jamaica, let's jump to the next one. There we go. So first thing, this is all about level one. One of the things that we want to make sure everybody has, and most of you that I see on this call already has, is an Acadium primary point of contact. If you don't have a point of focus for all information, then you're going to miss some opportunities. So the first thing on being maximizing your usage is making sure you have a designated person. They're not going to do all the work, but they should be the point of contact that is aware of all the things that are happening. And that person should be meeting with me, or for some of you, I think you work with Selma, but they should be meeting with their Acadeum director on at least a regular basis. So I know some of you, Ms. Roberts, me and Ms. Roberts go way back like rocking chairs. We meet every 2 weeks. Dr. Peters and I, we flow, got regular meetings. So we want to make sure that you have a continuous communication point between us, because here's the thing. In the middle of a situation, it's not always going to pop up, oh, I should call Ed. But if we have a regular communication, I have found on a regular basis that there are things that are going on in your environment that as we meet, you're going, oh, this is happening, and we can triage and work through. So having that conversation, and I'm going to say it, I'm just going to say it, it's my usual internal secret for just people that know me, but I'm going to give you the secret. If you book a 30-minute meeting with me, and we only use 15 minutes of it, you get 15 minutes back that nobody knows you had. So there you go. Either way it goes, you win. So if we, and as Dr. Peters can tell you, if for some reason we don't go the whole time, I'm not going to sit there and figure out 15 more minutes worth of stuff to ask you questions about. But we do want to make sure that we're touching and agreeing on a regular basis to make sure that we get the work consistently moving. And as we get to the strategic work, it's really about seeing the progress of what you're working on and where we can help. So there may be some things that are going on that we can help about. So level one, first thing is making sure you have a point of contact and that there is a regular cadence of meeting. Ms. Jamaica, if you'll go on to the next slide, please. Now this part, you really want to make sure that you have an Acadium steering committee. Now, this is not just your regular person. This is your upper level conversation about the strategic guidance for how you're going to use course sharing as a supplement and a resource. So it's not really about telling people about Acadium. It's really about making sure the right people are aware of what you have and having the conversation about where does it fit in your initiatives. So for example, this steering committee needs to have all the key stakeholders that make decisions and that you need buy-in from in order to get your objectives covered. So if you think about it, as interesting as my conversations are, they're very hard to repeat. So having this meeting with all these people involved, and I'm actually there, you're actually there, we can ask questions, having all of these people together, we can set strategic vision and hear their questions, hear their concerns, and actually have real-time conversations, because I've got 25 plus years of experience between not just Acadium, but post-secondary, K-12. I'm a certified project manager. I do counseling. Sometimes when I'm meeting folk, we have counseling sessions. It's all these attributes brought together in this conversation. So you want to have at least representation from all of these areas on your steering committee. And we're not asking them to meet every week. We're saying this needs to be at least an annual or semi-annual convening to talk about what went well. So what was last year about? Because a lot of times you need to be able to tell the story to your leadership about the good work you've done. I will brag on Tuskegee all the time. Tuskegee does a great job, but sometimes they need to make sure everybody at Tuskegee knows that they did a good job. And so bringing that steering committee together allows for us to talk about what went well. One of the things I love about my friends at Wiley, we talked about what did they learn that they did different? What did we grow through? What did we figure out this didn't work quite the way we wanted, and this is our modification? And then what are the strategic initiatives of the institution that Acadium can help support? sometimes, and I'll just be very transparent, I'm not really good at sticking to just Acadeum stuff. As anybody that's been on the call with me knows, if you have any kind of problem that I can help you with, we're going to talk about it. So I'll bring in my PMP experience, I'll bring in my education experience, my state funding experience, my workforce experience, and we talk about a very holistic approach to supporting you. So it's really important that this steering committee meet, because you're going to have high-level conversations in vacuums. And anytime with, a vacuum, the problem with a vacuum is sound never escapes. Y'all can borrow that later. I'm gonna let that's for free. You can keep that. You can borrow that later. In a vacuum, sound never escapes. So there's conversations that are going on that never get to the right places. So if we bring all these folks together, hear their input, build a consensus, and then when we leave this meeting, everybody's on the same page. You have upper level support when you need to ask for certain things. So next slide. Another part of the level 1 awareness, we want to, in that meeting with that group, have a true strategic planning meeting. So once you figure out who your steering committee is, we need to have that strategic planning committee, because there are some things that, we're family, so I'm just going to be honest. Some things the people in the middle may not get, but the people at the top can help them get. Now, y'all can interpret that the way you want. But sometimes you need a little help to get people to move along in the direction that's best for students. So if we have that higher conversation and look at what are the big initiatives, the big gaps, the big needs that you see from a student success perspective, and then from there, which ones do you want to identify as projects? So far we've done a lot of things as ad hoc, hey, this student came to my office, I need to do this. Dr. Clowney, we have this student going on. What can you do? But what we're really looking for is, how do we get ahead of the need and say, let's build a project plan with actual quantifiable metrics and milestones. Some of the most common ones that you guys have been doing ad hoc, but maybe not put into paper yet, is dealing with senior recovery, dealing with step-out recovery, dealing with mitigation, dealing with student success planning versus student success responding. And so really getting an idea to talk about those things and establish a quantifiable goal around what that looks like. So we're anticipating, we think 25% of this group can be helped by this, or we know we're identifying that at least 20 students will benefit from this, where now you're talking about a population versus an idea. And so we really want to have these strategic conversations that will end up with SMART goals, which lead to, Ms. Jamika, if you'll take us to the next slide, workflow planning. One of the things that we want to make sure that we actually have is really clearly defined workflows based on the projects. So far, I've seen many of you have really good workflows, but they're workflows in general, which means they're at a very high level, but not tied to specific people and roles in some cases. This, if we identify the project, if we say we're going to deal with a project around, let's go with pre-senior mitigation for the summer. So we know we're doing pre-senior mitigation for the summer, meaning we're going to do that, review those end of junior year audits to see anybody who's going to have to take an overload in their final senior year, to figure out a plan to mitigate that so they can take just their base load for fall and spring by using summer as a mitigating term. We need to, if we identify that, then we're not just saying advisors, we can say Ms. Roberts, the advisor, will be the person in this process, or Dr. Pamela is the chair over this particular group of seniors. And we can really put together a very customized workflow and make sure that it's clearly identified so that those same people in leadership that are being able to identify the project can also make sure the proper resources know that they're a part of it, because the workflow explains it. And then that workflow can be shared with them for their feedback to make sure everything is working right before we put it out there to students or anybody, and then somebody goes, oh no, that's not Dr. Pamela, that's Dr. Clowney. And then we have a hiccup. So having those clearly defined workflows after we define the project, that allows us to move even further. And to the next slide. I feel like I'm at a wedding, we're doing a slide. And then this allows us to make sure everybody has the right roles. If I know that I need Ms. Roberts to do this, I need to make sure she has the right roles in Acadeum. One of the things we find is that, I know this doesn't happen at anybody's campus here, but there's a lot of transition in college. I know you guys don't. Y'all don't have that at all. But I have seen in some cases where transition happens at campuses. Don't raise your hand. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. But you need to make sure you're reviewing your Acadeum list of people and making sure they have the right roles. If Methuselah is no longer teaching there, but he has advisor access, you probably want to deactivate that account. And if you have yes, I said Methuselah, Allison, because some people have been teaching since before letters, but you want to make sure the right people have the right access. And if I'm assigning new people into the work, expanding the usage, I need to make sure they have the right role and the right training. And just to add to that, we've been adapting at Acadeum to make sure we have the things you need. So there's now an advisor role that wasn't there before, which means now you can assign someone that can advise and recommend a course to a student, but they can't approve a course. So for your advisors, where you want to have them have limited ability, but ability to actually engage students and suggest courses to them, we now have a role for that. We have a role now for your chairs or deans when they approve courses, so it doesn't have to come back to the registrar. If that chair or dean is the person who's going to approve it, they now can have course approver access, so that once Dr. Pamela says, yes, this does match, then she can actually go in and say approved. And so the registrar has that at their disposal in their inventory. So this conversation about decentralization of roles and proper alignment of roles really needs to happen as you think strategically about what your workflow will be. Ms. Jamaica, next slide. I don't know why I'm doing it like I'm moving the slide, but it just makes me feel better. So then once we have all of that, there is no action without communication. And so we want to make sure that once we've defined that strategic plan, that workflow, who's in the workflow, that somebody makes sure they know they're there. You know, how many times have you been on the job and you found out you had something to do that nobody asked you about doing, and all of a sudden it was yours? I know. We need some trauma moment. Didn't mean to trigger anybody, but that's real. So one of the things that we have noticed as a success metric for many schools is internal. We're not even talking about students. Internal communication plans. How have you communicated or developed a formal communication to let your staff, your administration, your leadership all have the same vision and understanding of what your use case of Acadeum and course sharing will be? So it's not, well, you know, Dr. Mans is trying to get rid of all of our jobs, and that's why we're going to Acadeum, because we're going to be 100% online through Acadeum. That's not what's happening. But if you've never played the telephone game, maybe you don't know. But if you were a little kid in elementary school, when I was in elementary school, there was this game called the telephone game. And once you told it to one person, then they had to tell it to the next person. They told it to the next person. And by the time it was finished, it never sounded like what it started. So in the absence of information, imagination runs wild. Trademark me. That's my phrase. But this is why that communication plan is extremely important. So once you have that outline workflows, who's going to do it, identifying what is the Acadeum or course sharing version of UVI, and very clearly identify that so faculty know, I'm not getting rid of my students. Only students that have these criteria are going to be taking classes. So it's not everyone. That helps ease some of the fear, because people, when they don't know things, they fear the unknown. This clarifies it for them and lets them know how they're a part and who to communicate to with questions. So that communication internally is extremely important. And I think we have one more in this section, Jamaica, am I correct? Trying to remember. Nope, okay. So those are all level one. Level one are the core basics of what you should have in place and put in place so that we can have a very structured and sustainable course sharing project that becomes a course sharing tool that's well defined. Now, once you get those, it leads you to level two. Within level two, which is really important, you need those first parts, because level two is your formal procedural guide. Many of you have great handouts and you may have some great informational pieces, but you really need to have a full procedural guide that talks about, how do I approve courses? How do I approve students? What students qualify? How do I evaluate? Because when you come up to your accrediting visits, the accreditors are going to not be so much concerned about that you use CourseShare, but they're concerned how you use CourseShare and did you do it the way you said you would do it? So they're going to evaluate you based on what you said you would do. Well, if you don't have anything that says how you do it, then that looks like you don't have a way to regulate it. So you want to make sure that you have really clear procedures, that faculty is always involved in course approval, because that should be a mandate because they're the ones assessing the grading and allowing it to happen, and how students engage. How do we track it against percentages and all these wonderful things? That needs to be really well written out and a living document. So every year when we do that strategic meeting, we're updating that to see if there's any changes in policies, any new policies needed, any new procedures needed, any lessons learned that evolve our procedures. That becomes a recurring update from that point forward. Also, making sure from there you're developing a student communication process. So once you have your internal faculty communication process, you want to have a student communication process. Tuskegee has an amazing page on their website that outlines all the things that they want students to know about how to use Acadeum. You need to make sure your students are also aware of what they can or can't do, what is the responsible usage and the process, because I don't know about you, but students don't keep secrets. Once one of them gets to use, thank you, Ms. Robbins. I saw your amen. I felt it in my spirit. Once students get to use it, they're gonna start telling everybody what it is, even if they don't know what it is. So you want to, once you define it for your administration, you want to define it for your enrollment population and have a plan to update that. If you have a new project for seniors, let the seniors know. Tell them this is what you need to do. Have a way. We have some examples of some handouts. Again, I reference Tuskegee's online page, their website, where you can look for models of how to do this. And then in that level 2, once you have that first wave of sustainability in place, many of you have software that will help you manage how to use CourseShare. If you're using Adaster, if you're some of Illusion Report, some of these things, talk to your technology partners that do your enrollment requests, your enrollment writing, your statistics. Many of them have reports that'll help you pull the populations and track the populations that need your help. So really building that in to, these are going to be things that after you develop level 1, they're maintained in this level 2. Lastly, level 3 is really looking at your TI status. Am I ready to be a teaching institution? What do I need to think about? And I'll say it as I do all the time. There's 4 main questions that we'll walk through them with you. How many total asynchronous online classes do you have? Out of those asynchronous, so you want to think of every asynchronous class you have, then you weed it down to what have really good quality, what has good instruction, what has good feedback. Because again, I say nobody wants to be the one that brought the potato salad with raisins in it. And everybody in the community understands what I mean. So you want to make sure whatever you're going to put out, I know, Ashley, this is your first time with me. You're like, Alice is like, what is he doing? This man is off his rocker. But this is how I roll. You want to make sure that your courses are going to be good ones because you're putting them out there. And then you're going to see out of those really good courses, how many actually have availability? Because if it's a really good class that Miss Lynn teaches and everybody loves that class and it's got great evaluations, but there's never an open seat in it, there's no sense in putting it up. And then after you say, you know, which ones have seats, which ones won't be canceled? Because I don't want Dr. Pamela calling me to say, we had a class that we put a student in and they canceled it on us. And now we need to find an alternative at the last minute. So when we ask, when you put up a TI course, we want to make sure that it's not likely to be canceled. And then whatever you have after you do that evaluation, that's your inventory. This helps you determine if this is enough inventory to worth doing the lift. But that for every institution is a possibility depending on how you want to engage and what your quality and your value of coursework is. All right. Next slide. Trying to make sure I watch my time. So what should be happening right now? Right now, we should all be evaluating that graduation population. I know a lot of transition has happened, but we still have a chance to help seniors finish strong. I know a lot of you are doing that. I've met with several of your registrars and contact people. You still have a chance to help those seniors that are on that pivot to still graduate, or to mitigate them for a summer that'll allow them to at least get conferred before the following fall. So we want to make sure that we're looking at those seniors. We're looking at our rising juniors, those that are going to be seniors next semester, that you already know they need 32 hours. That ain't going to work. You can't do 32 hours a semester. That's going to kill you. So what can we give you during the summer that is a lower level course that doesn't infringe with my upper level faculty, because we don't want them feeling like we're taking anything from them. But if they're not offering the class or it's double booked on their schedule, they can take that in their summer so that their senior year is successful. And then what are you actually looking at as far as your step out recovery? Remember, you're looking at these major benchmarks. Some of you are working with Trellis, some of you are working with different funders. I know Thurgood Marshall has some work that they're doing on step out. UNCF has work that they're doing on step outs. As somebody who was a step out, I can tell you, when you bring that student back, if you get me excited, but you don't have my class, you lost me, and I may never come back. So if you're looking at your step out, talk to your retention person who is handling your step out recovery, and how do you build a course schedule for the next year so that when you call me, you can say, hey, Ed, this is what we have for you. You can finish in the next 18 months, next 3 semesters. These are the courses. We already have them lined out. This is what you need to do. So this is where most people are working. If you are a TI, please, my TIs, or those that want to be TIs, this is the time to start thinking about your 24-25 course offerings. You're figuring out your catalog right now because you're finalizing your catalog for next year for most cases. You know what you're going to be offering. You're already looking at faculty leveling. You know what's coming. Let's preemptively look at those courses and see what you can put out, because the earlier you put it out, the more likely someone can use it. If you wait to the last minute, they may have found another course that wasn't as great as yours, but it was a course that was out at the time. So as soon as you get those out, let's make sure we're able to get those to upload status. So I think that is what I have. I also want to remind everyone, before we go to, because I think this is my last slide, one other thing that we're also doing at this time is really working on sustainability. So one of the things that we will work with you, and when we set up our session, please make sure we get a chance to have this conversation. You're going to need to look at how do you financially, viably identify how Acadeum works. Everybody has a CFO, and every CFO is trying to figure out why or how do we pay for this. There are 3 areas that you can focus on, and I'll help you build the metrics around that, but we really want to have that strategic conversation with your leadership around it as well. Remember, Acadeum is designed to supplement you, not to take the place of things. So the first thing that it does is actually help you supplement any gaps. So that's what we talk about retention revenue. Retention revenue is basically the semester of revenue or tuition that you get to keep because the student didn't step out. And let's be honest, when we have financially independent students, if they can't be full-time, they can't go to school because they can't get a full aid package. If you're telling them they have to wait an entire year, you may lose them altogether. So when we look at the students that are taking Acadian courses, in many cases, it's allowing them to stay in school. That's what we call retention revenue. So if that student would not have had that course, we could have lost that semester of tuition. So that's one revenue, retention revenue, that people don't often think about because they're like, well, they paid tuition. Where are we paying for this out of? Understand, if they wouldn't have had the class, you wouldn't have gotten the tuition. So you have to figure out how to calculate that. We base it on a minimum of 10% of your active users. So if you look at your active user population and you take 10% of that, and that's a very modest percentage that may have had to stop out had they not had the course, and you multiply that by 1 semester of tuition, that's how you determine your retention revenue. That helps your CFO see how much money they would have lost had they not used Acadium, and that allows for some understanding of the benefit of giving those students that option. The second one is looking at the difference between your adjunct cost and your course sharing costs. Because they're like, well, where are we going to pay for this? Well, if you would have offered these classes with adjuncts, it would have cost you this. Because you were able to get this class for these 2 students for $600, because you were able to get it both seats for $300 at a community college versus $2,500 for an adjunct to teach those 2 students, you just saved the difference because your institution would have had to pay for the course either way. This is another pocket that you can now show your financial team that where you would have spent $2,500 to provide this, you spent $6,000. You do the math, you'll see that more than covers how much your hosting costs will be. Lastly, your actual revenue generation is going to be based on where you have courses that are not part of your block tuition, where it's an overload. I had one campus just recently. I'm really excited. They had a senior that needed a class, put them in overload, and they used the overload fee to offset the cost of the course. So the institution still actually made a profit because the cost of the course was less than their overload charge. Summer is also a clear area where the cost of the course is individualized. It's not part of your block tuition, and your revenue clearly can be tracked from there. So those 3 sources are where you have that financial conversation. And when we have the strategic meeting, this is where we bring these things together to help make it clear how you fund your sustainability. I've got several institutions that did enough in the summer that covered their spring usage. So we really want to talk about how do you build not just an ad hoc, but if you do it strategically, you can actually figure out how do I assess for these things? How do I budget for these things that they continue to sustain my students? Okay, I think I covered all of my points. Awesome. So one of the things I do want to stress with you before I give up my time, and I'm gonna be good. I'm not gonna go over. Please make sure, as busy as everyone is and as many things are going on their campuses, if we get this done right well, you don't have to do it as deeply every time. So I know that everyone's trying to figure out, well, how do I have time to do this? I need to pull these people in. Everybody's schedule's busy. I'm going to ask you to invest in your own success by investing the time to do this work as we're building these structures. So I can tell you, I consult and you don't want to know my consulting rate. But because you're a part of Dr. Harriet, for real, just saying, I got letters, I got the alphabet game behind my name. So I got some stuff I could charge. But what we're doing, because SREB has pulled everyone together and because Acadeum is definitely committed to your success, we will help you do the strategic planning and those conversations that frankly are kind of hard to have in a vacuum, because it's really easy for someone to say, no, we can't do it because they're only looking at one part of it. Let me come in and help. I can talk. I've been a chair of business information systems, so I understand faculty load. I understand trying to figure out how to actually have the right course balance. I've worked with an OPM, so I understand how to do carousels and have strategic conversations. Let us be your resource in the room, because what you will get out of this is a third-party voice that can be a neutral conversation point between these others that may have a very specific way of seeing things that may not see the big picture of what you can see. So please make sure you take advantage of that. I know many of you have been super busy. Some of you I see on a regular basis. Some of you I may not have been able to see as regularly. Please take advantage of that. As I tell my congregation, I'm busy, but I always have time for things that are important. And so you're important. So please make sure, if you're not in a regular rotation with me, please reach out. Let's get something on the calendar. I will make sure to share my information with you so you can do that. If you're not part of my portfolio, you may be with Selma. Please make sure you're doing that with Selma as well. But if you structure this well, you're building legacy. And I really want you to think about that. HBCU-MSI work is usually not about a straight outcome. It's about legacy. You want to have the ability to say, while I was there, we put this in place, and now students will be able to benefit from this continuously. And so I just want to encourage you. I know there's a lot of things going on here. I know there's a lot of things on your plate, but you are able and equipped for this moment. You have everything that you need to be successful. You have all the gifts, talents, and abilities necessary to support the cultivation of the gifts, talents, and abilities of your students. All we have to do right now is come together, come in unity. I'm not going to preach. I'm not going to preach. I felt it coming on, but I'm not going to preach. But I really value everything that you all do. But I know it's hard to do it by yourself. That's why I'm here. And so you've done a good job so far. I take nothing away from the good work that you've done. Let us help you bring it to that next level. And so, as you know, I don't mind flying. I've been to most of your campuses, but Zoom works as, except Dr. Pamela, I've been trying to get to the Virgin Islands, but okay, sorry, trauma moment. I didn't even get invited to Puerto Rico, SREB, but I'm not gonna go there. But you know, I am happy to work with you. You know the spirit of which I work in, so it's always going to be collaborative. It's always going to be supportive. It's always going to be talking about what you do well. And so let me know how I can help. So let me check the comments. I know there have probably been several because I am very one track when I'm focused. See these comments.
Yeah, I know.
Elisa, am I missing anything in
No
particular?
questions. They were just kind of seconding and amening kind of what you were saying
I
as you
love it,
went
man.
along. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for Ed, for Acadeum?
I just wanted to reiterate, hey, Brother Ed, just wanted to reiterate that importance of getting it right the first time, because it's so very hard when you are resource limited to stand up an initiative, have it fail, and then get trust again and resources again to go for round two, right? And so, I think leading with the success points, leading with, the stories, putting faces and stories together. So giving raw data, but also mixing that with these stories that humanize, right? Just how valuable the course share opportunity has been. I've been working with some students real quick. This is a new use case that I stumbled across, but working with a graduating senior, incredibly strong student, got into her dream graduate program. However, there were 2 courses that were required for the graduate program that are not a part of the degree program at the college, right? And so I was able to find through course sharing those 2 courses, macro and micro economics, use Acadeum to grab those seats, tack it onto her spring bill, and she was only at 12 hours. So it worked out beautifully because it didn't trigger an overcharge, right? Just took her up to 18. Find dates, start dates and end dates that would work so that she could actually start her graduate program on time, submitting her final transcript, undergraduate transcript, by July 15th. And so I had never thought about prerequisites in that way for graduate school. I was thinking about prerequisites at the undergraduate level, but this presented a whole new opportunity to be solution driven. The student was literally in tears. So she can now start her dream graduate program on time with 0 money out of pocket by thinking creatively. So I just wanted to share that in this space. I'm really excited about being able to find a solution with her, and I have no doubt she'll do well in these courses, but just wanted to share that with this group because those kind of stories I find the upper leadership really respond to, right? And it helps to make the case for why this program needs to be considered a serious program and why that thought investment and around process, workflow, assets, communication plans, et cetera, is so important to do on the front end and to get it right.
Thank you, Jamila. And I do want to highlight stories like that are important. So if you have success stories like that, I know some of you, we've done a spotlight on Benedict several times. They've done great work. We've done a spotlight on Tuskegee. As you have those success stories, let us help tell the good work that you're doing. And so we don't mind, our marketing team is happy to help interview the student, help generate that piece that you can actually share internally and externally about the work that you're doing. So I know I'm trying to be mindful of my time and not go over, but I'm gonna leave a little extra time for the Q&A part that we're going into next. But just keep in mind, we're here to help. We are happy to do whatever we can to help, but we can only come through the door if you open it. So please reach out. We want to be there. We want to support you. We're 100% on board to undergird your work, to have those hard conversations. I've been in this work for a long time. Hard conversations are not a hard thing for me. And sometimes it helps to have somebody that isn't on staff to be able to point out and say those things that help growth that people are a little awkward about saying. And I'm pretty good about taking a 360 approach to get into a question, so it doesn't come as directive, but you take that Nathan David approach, knowing how to ask the right question and get the right response. We can do that with your team. So please take advantage of it. I'm looking forward to the strategic meetings coming up very soon, so we can do those plans for 24 going into 25, where you will have the sustainability to leave a legacy that your students and future students and somebody's kid that you actually help get through, that comes back later when you're retired on the beach somewhere and they go, "Oh, Dr. Pamela, yes," because they're on UVI and everything has a beach, which I'm jealous of. But you're talking to them and they're like, "Oh yeah, my son took this course and they were letting him take it through I was like, "Oh yeah, I helped put that together." You never know where your impact will be impactful. So thank you, SREB, for the time. I'm going to give back that last 5 minutes to add to Q&A and to any other next steps.
All righty. Thank you so much, Pastor Ed. We always enjoy what you have to offer and the way you deliver it, sir. Just going through some of the comments again, very much seconding what you and Jamila are saying, amening. Megan Word at Angelo State said sharing success of a comparable college with your leadership team is helpful too. Real world examples make it not a hypothetical solution, but a real lifesaver or a real life answer. And then Dr. Pamela says UVI, University of the Virgin Islands, the only HBCU in the Caribbean. Yet still, we cannot seem to get on your campus, Dr. Pamela. What is really happening? Anyone have anything else for Ed? As we transition to y'all, we're ahead of schedule, which is always a blessing, right? For time, when we can give you time back, even if it's just a minute or two. We're going to just go right on into next steps and closing remarks. In this section, we ask you if you have any questions on anything presented from SREB, from myself, from Melissa, from Dr. Harriet, from Dr. DeJesus, anything from Ed and Jamila at Acadium, anything that was posed in the mentee section, anything that was posed through Acadium's section. Do you have any questions, comments? Are all minds satisfied?
I have a question.
Sure.
Mike posed the question about specifically what can SREB do to support schools. Would you all be willing to consider maybe covering subscription costs for tools like Menti or other software that could help us be more efficient in kind of how we gather data, even be more creative? We talked about how to reach students, right? Menti would be an amazing add-on in a course kind of redesign as we think about engagement. Engagement looks different now, but I could see where Menti would be like an amazing resource for faculty, those of us who are presenting, but also at the classroom level. Is that something SREB would be willing to consider, maybe like an institutional bundle? And maybe that's for VP Scott, but I just wanted to kind of raise that here because those subscriptions tools, as we build a repository of those, resources, when things get lean at a campus, that's the first place you start cutting. You start looking at those subscriptions saying, well, 100 users on this. So I would love to kind of think about that, and maybe there's some possibility for some support there.
Mike, do you want to talk about MEC Tech?
Sure, I'll speak about this a little bit. And Allison is actually our liaison with MEC for MEC Tech.
Didn't know that.
But something that you all may not know, being that you are part of SREB region, we have a partnership with MEC, who's our sister education compact, and through MEC Tech, it does give you access to discounted software and resources. So we can definitely post that on the link. We just did an inventory of the users within our region. Maybe a few months ago. Looks like West Virginia was our highest use state, but it's definitely something that's available, and definitely, something that you all have access to. So we'll include that in information to share. So thank you for bringing that up, Elisa.
And Elisa, if I can just add, I wouldn't say it was off the table. I know to everybody, you saw the wheel earlier, and our focus is publishing, researching, professional development, and convening. So we really align our activities and our practices to those things. So maybe if we connected you with some way to get Mentee or get the funding for Mentee, and we were doing the professional development or training on it, that's more so part of our wheelhouse. So I just wanted to bring the focus back to our whole purpose is making sure that we are bringing you all together, that we are using resources collaboratively, that we are publishing and researching evidence-based practices and innovative practices.
Okay. The comments are sharing quite a few things that some of the institutions are doing. And there's the link for MEC Tech. Wonderful. Angelo State has an MSW program as well. Good luck setting it up and going if you need. Okay. All righty. So any other questions? That was a great question, Jamila. Thank you for posing that. SREB has a lot of things that I need to better familiarize myself with, to be perfectly honest. I've been so focused on my 4 programs. So this is, if you can believe it, has been a learning experience for me as well. Thank you all. Any other questions? Here. Just sharing more information. Okay. Well, as far as next steps, Ed, do you have any action items, or did you share all of the action items for your section?
My next steps are really around follow through on a couple of things. So I will share with SREB, I guess, because you guys have the distribution list for this group, just to make sure everyone has access to the HBCU-MSI space. A lot of the information there, I just want to remind you that space is available to you. I want to make sure that you're able to take full advantage of it, because it's really designed specifically for you to be able to have peer-to-peer conversations. All the coffee chats are recorded and placed into there. We've had some really good coffee chats recently with Tuskegee and with Wiley and some others. And so I'm going to put this in the chat. I hope I did this right. I just put a link in the chat. If you click that link and you don't have access for some reason, please let us know, because this group is exclusively for HBCU-MSI schools. And so we want to make sure you have access to that. The recording from today, the checklist that I just gave you, those will all be in there later today, so you'll be able to access them. But when you get in, I want you to also see the great coffee chats and resources and tools that are being shared in their success stories, all of these different pieces. The other thing I want to keep in mind is that as we are developing this next wave, really looking at where are your initiatives. So when you go back, when you get off this call, one of the other groups that I have the pleasure of working with as a VP of Special Projects, I also have the entire Texas A&M system. And so one of the things that we identified with them is that they're doing work with ASCU, which is the Association of State Colleges and Universities, but they have some very specific strategic retention plans. And I think every campus, whether you're working with Trellis, whether you're working with any of these groups, you have very clearly defined step out and retention plans, kind of looking at where your gap fills are. That's part of the homework after this, so that when we do have those conversations, you're ready with what those initiatives are. So after this call, get with your team, start, look at the list that you'll get, see who you want in those places. Let's make sure we get that strategic meeting put together. And then if you need any help, Ms. Roberts, I saw your email. Thank you so much. If you need some help on pulling some things together, let me know, and we can pull some things that'll help you get that meeting going. Because a lot of times, tight schedules, we need to know why I need to meet with you. We can help with some of the verbiage there, also some of your past experience. I'll pull some stuff for Tuskegee after the email I just saw from Ms. Roberts to pull some points that she'll be able to utilize in training and things of that nature based on your own work and your own. Come on, Ms. Roberts, I got you. Based on the good work that you've done, we'll help tell that story. So let's get that together. Summer is coming. Let's make sure you have a good revenue return on your summer, because your students are going to benefit from the courses, your institution will benefit from the revenue, your completion rate will benefit your community. So please, please, please take this next step period before you get into the throes of graduation, which is coming up real soon. Let's try to get those meetings scheduled so we can get that plan in place.
Thank you so much. So as far as SREB next steps, you guys asked, where you can get the recording to this. We're going to post it on SREB's webinars page. It'll be under past webinars, since it happens in the past, it's not upcoming, but I just put it there. And then, of course, going back to the collaborative one-on-one work sessions with SREB, based on what we've shared with you so far, hopefully that got you thinking about the consultative or advisory ways that SREB can help you reach your goals, solve any concerns that you have. Let's start talking about scheduling those meetings. So you can reach out to me directly, elisa.jaden@sreb.org. I'll put it in the chat. If you know off the immediately that it's data that you have the interest in, the summation tools, then you can reach out to Melissa. What? So my thing is acting crazy. Lisa Jaden at sreb.org. Or you can reach out to Melissa. So I'm putting everyone's emails in here. All right, so other than that, does anyone else have anything? Mike or Harriet, do you have any next steps that you would like to share, or do you want to go directly to closing remarks?
I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us here today. It's great seeing you all. As I mentioned earlier this morning, looking forward to seeing everyone in person. If there's anything that we can do to help you on your campuses, to give you more information about any of the things that our SREB, we'd love to do some more cross-pollination between all of our initiatives. And so please don't be shy and reach out. Harriet?
Drop the mic on your comments. Thank you, everybody. I'm happy to be here.
All righty, we're giving you back about 22 minutes of your time. Please go eat. Please go take care of yourself, and we look forward to working more with you in the future. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
All right, bye-bye.